This is my range bag. And this is my range bag's IFAK. I've been thinking about that. I think we've gotten so accustomed to treating this as the default answer to medical preparedness around firearms that we've stopped asking a fairly obvious question. Why? One more thing before we get into it, I wanted to say that this giveaway for this IFAK is still going on. It is this exact IFAK. All the contents inside I've gone through in a previous video. If you'd like to know what's inside, please check it out. But it is everything that I personally use in my own personal IFAK. So I trust it, and I trust my life on this. The details on how to enter are below. An IFAK makes a tremendous amount of sense when I'm carrying medical equipment on my body. Space matters, weight matters. I need immediate access to the handful of things that can address an immediately life-threatening injury. But this, my range bag, this thing contains 400 pounds of ammunition, 3 magazines I'll somehow still manage to forget and lose, 6 different Allen keys, and at least one object whose purpose I haven't really understood since approximately 2019. Space clearly isn't our problem anymore. So why would I build the medical capability in my range bag around exactly the same constraints as the pouch on my belt? I don't think I should. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that a range medical kit and an IFAK are actually solving different problems. An IFAK is constrained for a reason. If I have to carry something on my belt or my chest rig or my waistband, ankle, wherever, I have limited real estate. So the equipment inside tends to prioritize injuries where immediate intervention matters the most. Severe bleeding is the most obvious example. The American College of Surgeons Stop the Bleed program centers civilian bleeding control training around 3 basic interventions: direct pressure, wound packing, and tourniquet application. That's an extremely focused mission. Some IFAKs expand beyond that depending on the carrier's training and the needs. But the basic philosophy is still the same. Small package, immediate problem, keep somebody alive until more help arrives. And when this thing is physically attached to me, that's exactly what I want. The mistake, I think, happens when we take that philosophy and automatically scale it up, because the environment just changed. A range isn't your belt. Think about what changes when I go shooting. I'm probably not alone. There may be 2 people there. There may be 20. I may be at a commercial indoor range 5 minutes from an ambulance, or I might be on somebody's property where telling 911, go left at the tree and go 10 minutes that way and then take a left at the 4th tree, is going to create some administrative difficulties. I could be outside for several hours. I'm manipulating firearms, I'm moving equipment, handling hot suppressors, walking around uneven ground, hanging targets, stapling cardboard, loading magazines. Most importantly, I have a whole bag available to me. Suddenly, designing everything around the smallest possible footprint doesn't make much sense. The mission is no longer, what can one person carry on their body for one catastrophic injury? It's, what medical problem could realistically happen during a day at the range, and what am I reasonably equipped and trained to do about them? So enough flapping my gums. Let's actually talk about what's inside my range medical kit. And let's start with the pouch itself. This pouch here I got for signing up for some firearms protection insurance. I like it. I think it's big enough that it will be good for a range IFAK. And when we go through the contents, it's going to be a little bit more standard and boring. So we're going to start with the SAM splint. You guys know I have a problem with SAM splints. I love these things. I can go on the outside. For a range IFAK, you absolutely need hemostatic gauze. This stuff is going to help save a life when there's going to be traumatic bleeding involved. That also is going to go on the outside. Chest seals, because when somebody's going to have a hole in their chest, you want to be able to seal it. With that, I can close up that outside thing. Nasopharyngeal and the lubrication for it. I want this because I am trained to be able to use MPAs. If you don't have the training, you should probably exclude it or get the training. TCCC card. These are in every single one of my IFAKs. You guys know this by now. You need to be able to mark down what the injuries are and if you did anything to help stop them. For a range IFAK, I actually have an emergency blanket because if somebody's going to be going into shock, I want to be able to do something to help them conserve body heat. Self-adherent gauze or self-adherent medical tape. You guys know I love this stuff. It's in every single one of my kits. I actually have two. Let's talk about tourniquets now. For a range kit where you're going to be with more than one person or the possibility that somebody has more than one traumatic hemorrhage, I have two tourniquets. Compressed gauze, I want two of these. Same reason. You're at the range, there's going to be possibility for more than one person getting hit. Israeli bandage. I don't really have anything to say about that. It's an Israeli bandage. It applies pressure and helps stop the bleed. Trauma shears. You need to be able to access somebody's injury under their clothing. This here is an ACE bandage. I love these things. If all of my other things are being used, I can help hold down other gauze and stuff, apply pressure to a wound, etc. And then we're going to have the more boring stuff. I have a ton of non-adhesive gauze in multiple different sizes. That's going to go in here. Big boo-boo adhesive bandages, and then about 1,000 different band-aids in all sorts of different sizes. If it closes, it's good to go. I've spent a lot of time on ranges, both in the military and in my personal civilian life. And somehow, every medical conversation around firearms eventually becomes gunshot wound, which is fair enough. There are firearms here. But the universe contains other injuries than penetrating trauma. People get cuts, people get scraped up, they burn themselves, they roll ankles, they get headaches, they get debris in an eye, they get stung by that scorpion that they didn't see, even though I told them, hey, look out for scorpions. And they stand outside in August, apparently attempting to discover whether the human body can be converted entirely into sweat. It can't, but it sure looks like it can. A conventional first aid kit is designed for a much broader category of ordinary injuries. The Red Cross, for example, recommends things like adhesive bandages, gauze, tape, antiseptic supplies, cold packs, and other general first aid items, not just hemorrhage control equipment. That stuff doesn't belong in my tiny trauma IFAK, and that's fine. I don't need it to. There's another category I don't think we talk enough about, especially at outdoor ranges. The environment itself can become the medical problem. Heat is an obvious example. The CDC guidance identifies things like headache, nausea, dizziness, weakness, thirst, and heavy sweating among the symptoms associated with heat exhaustion. If you regularly shoot outside in the summer, That's not some exotic wilderness survival scenario. That's Tuesday. So now I'm thinking beyond what is technically inside the medical pouch. Do I have enough water? Something to replace electrolytes if I'm going to be outside for hours? Sun protection, a way to get somebody out of direct sun. Is there climate controlled building nearby? What's the weather actually doing today? None of that looks particularly tactical on Instagram, but unfortunately, Heat Illness has demonstrated a long standing refusal to respect branding. And this is exactly where the range medical kit starts becoming more of a range medical plan. For a place I shoot regularly, especially somewhere remote, I'd rather have the exact location and useful access information written down than trust myself to flawlessly remember it while something terrible is happening. That's not sexy gear, which is probably why nobody argues about it on Reddit. But preparedness isn't a cosplay contest. The equipment exists to support the plan, not the other way around. That's going to do it. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today. If you like this content, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with somebody who you think might be able to benefit from this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have a good one, everybody.